Live 1 to 3, Monday through Friday on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to Chase and his friends on WKGN. It's the Chase. It's the Scruffy City. Listen to his friends, and his friends are on WKGN. I'm always taking your calls on the Tennessee Vols. It's the Chase. It's the Chase. It's the Chase.
It's the Chase here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Good afternoon to all the good folks here in East Tennessee and all over listening live on the free Fan Run Radio app. Go download it today if you have not already downloaded it yet. It's free, and you can listen anywhere, wherever, whether it's Spokane, Washington, down there in Atlanta, Georgia. You can listen to us all over the map on our free Fan Run Radio app. So I appreciate you all for tuning in here from 1 to 3, The Chase, Week 2, getting started here. We got intern Garrett co-hosting with us today. Garrett, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ready to talk some ball with you. It is officially now football season with the end of the baseball season yesterday, so I'm sure we'll get into that, and I'm sure we'll talk about some football coming up this fall. It is now officially talking season.
It is officially talking season, and we'll obviously do a final deep dive here with Tennessee baseball wrapping up their season after falling in Fayetteville to Arkansas in 2 games on Saturday and Sunday. So we'll dive into that. We'll talk to more important issues. Own Kaleb Mitchell here at 1:10 to get his perspective on the Vols going down in Fayetteville this weekend and ending their season in the Supers to the Hogs. We'll talk about Tennessee's biggest questions here going into the offseason and a sneaky amount of turnover with this group, not only in the rotation but also in the lineup 1 through 9. We'll talk about how Tony handled the Doyle, Krenzel, A.J. Russell position in the game and how much that ultimately mattered. We talk about Andrew Fisher and his special season that I hope is not soon forgotten. We'll talk about Matt Zenitz of 247 Sports, who broke some interesting staff news for the Tennessee Vols that I'm very curious to see how that plays out. But I have some defensive coaches' perspectives, thoughts here on the Vols, and we'll talk Kaleb Beasley year 2 as we continue our year 2 series here on the Chase every week. We did Boo Carter last week. We'll do Kaleb Beasley this week, and then some Tennessee Titans Cam Ward receiver talk and wrap with some ESPN FBI prediction finishes for the SEC that I thought was fascinating. So jam-packed show for you guys here today. I am very, very curious, Garrett, from your perspective, watching every pitch here this weekend. Tennessee goes down to the Hogs. What was your biggest takeaway from what happened at Tennessee and going down in 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed kind of how the SEC season went throughout the year on the road. Just got off to kind of a slow start on that first game, and then obviously the second game you have Doyle on the mound, and you think even if you lose the game with Phillips pitching, Doyle's going to come in, save the day, and then you're going to have a game 3 where it's going to be a winner-take-all to Omaha. And unfortunately, Doyle just didn't really have his stuff yesterday. He comes out of the game in kind of an interesting situation when Aloy's up to bat. They bring in Krenzel. He plunks him, bases are loaded, and then grand slam, and basically the game is over after that. So, it's kind of a tough pill to swallow, but going on the road like that is tough to win, and, we saw what happened there.
Yeah, it's tough to win, but it's also one of those situations where this whole season, it's just kind of I guess this is like talk yourself into Tennessee season. It was all year. I don't know if you were the same as me, where you just kept, I think fans, because this is a team that was coming off a national championship, because they were still returning some key pieces from that national championship team, you were like, they can figure it out. They're going through, it's baseball. Like, it's not a one-loss end your season. And even as down as you felt, losing 5 straight series to end the year, you still were like, okay, Doyle still, he's going to be fine. Marcus Phillips was pitching the best at the end. You have A.J. Russell healthy and playing his best at the end. Some of the, like Brandon Arvinson turning the corner when you really needed him to turn the corner. There were a lot of reasons for optimism. I mean, Andrew Fisher, who we'll talk about more in depth, I mean, he was sensational again. It was one of the things where I understood why a lot of folks were talking themselves into Tennessee being able to go into Fayetteville and winning 2 of 3. But when you think about it, for me, I just kind of I kind of wonder now that, like, I wonder if there's some relief from Vol fans where they're kind of like, this season was hard. 2023 was similar in some ways, but 2023, you felt really good about Beam, Doe, and Lindsey as your top three starters, and then Burns settling in as a dominant relief arm. Even with the offensive struggles, especially in the bottom half of that order, you still felt really good about where you were headed, even going into the Hattiesburg Super Regional, and even if you wanted to host and all that kind of stuff. But you felt better. This team, it just never felt like it all worked. I think Tony had to make the most difficult lineup decisions he's ever had to make at Tennessee because you brought in the number one recruiting class this cycle, and you played some, like Levi Clark obviously factoring in and being an everyday player as a DH down the stretch. You had to be careful. It was like, okay, does Manny Marin, where does he fit in? You were also trying to figure out where does Ariel Antigua, like he's in the starting lineup for a while when Gavin Keelan goes down. Gavin's injury, that moves some stuff around. Dalton Bargo trying to figure out where he was because he was hitting so well for a while that you're like, well, he has to be in the everyday lineup, and then he falls in a 2 for 40 slump at the worst possible time. Reese Chapman, he did get, I think it was Arkansas the weekend where he was benched for one game, if I remember correctly. He got a day off, and then he was back for the next week, that Tuesday, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it was the Arkansas series, but he got benched one weekend series, and they went with Newstrom. It's like, Newstrom, he's going to be a big part of the 26 team. What do you start giving him some more opportunities? I think there was just a lot of stuff that he had to juggle, and then you saw Jay Abernathy hit a home run, so a lot of fans were like, why didn't we see more of Jay Abernathy, especially on the base path, and this, that, and the other. So I think Tony had to manage a lot of just super young talent that are going to be big parts of Tennessee baseball going forward, but also doing right by the vets. And a lot of his vets just went through cold spells, especially in the middle of the order at just the most inopportune time, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's so hard to go back to Omaha back-to-back years. You have to have so many things that are working at the right time, and you have to have, face it, you have to have some lucky breaks. I mean, even when we won in Omaha last year, you go back to that FSU game, and it's like, if that check swing was called a different way, we probably don't win, the whole thing. So you just have to have so many different variables that have to recreate themselves back-to-back years to be able to do it. And like you said, this lineup obviously and team was different. I mean, you saw even midway through like the SEC season, Tony was changing a lot of things around in the lineup, and it really seemed like they never completely got a feel of 100% what they wanted to do. But they had enough swagger on the team, and you saw that in the regional where, when they played with a chip on their shoulder, they could beat anybody. And I think that was part of the reason why you didn't see much success this weekend was they just looked like they were flat. Like they just really just didn't look like there was much swagger. Doyle didn't look like he had much swagger on the mound yesterday, and that was, I think, kind of the result of, a culmination of everything that happened.
Absolutely, and we'll talk more about what happened with Tennessee and their end of their 2025 title defense here in just a second. But we've also got Kaleb Mitchell of More Important Issues joining the show. Kaleb, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Chase. Good to be on with you guys. I know it's not the happiest of days as the baseball season comes to an end earlier than we wanted it to, but it's good to be on with you guys. I'm excited.
But is there part of you, though, kind of what we were talking about here at the top, where like there was just, it felt like the Tennessee baseball fan community was kind of exhausted and just kind of overrun by just the state of the team, the inconsistency of the team, and just never having the lineup, the bullpen, and the starters all coalescing at the right time where it felt like it was all going to come together. I just felt like fans were really frustrated through from basically the start of SEC play on.
Yeah, listen, if I could win it all every year, like sign me up,
yeah.
I'm in. But I think you're right. It's almost good to take a step back and breathe, and let's just be honest. And I think, like you said, we all kind of knew it from the onset of this year. It wasn't going to be a repeat year. And I think it was Reed Carringer. If I'm misquoting someone on Twitter, I apologize, but I believe it was him that tweeted last night. Football, probably slightly overachieved, basketball same, and baseball the same. But It's the way the season ended kind of just felt like, all right, we did all that to kind of be shown up when it mattered, and it just kind of sucks that way. Not that team sucks, not that performance, I'm not going to use the word sucks personally, but it just, the way it felt just kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't as much as you're like, hey, that was, I think, Tony went on that rant, I believe it was last year in the regional, about how they measure success. I think they'll step back and measure a lot of success in this season.
Yep.
Now I think they'll also point to places where they did not succeed. But I mean, I think there was some success. But in the end, you're like, it just doesn't feel that way because of the way the final game went. And it's hard to put a bow on it, just like it's hard to put a bow on football and basketball season because of the way they ended.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up the overachieving all across the board. I think football, it's interesting when you look back and like what Tennessee football now with the new seedings in 2026, Tennessee in the new format would have hosted this past season, and not had to go to Columbus out of the gate. You look at this year where there's no reseeding in college baseball, so you have to go to Fayetteville, and you look at the other super regional options, and Tennessee definitely had the most arduous road back to Omaha for their title defense of anyone on the road in the supers. And you just kind of look at it and you're like, okay, well, there's no shame in going down to Arkansas. Like, Arkansas has had Tennessee's number, as John Reed and Cody McClure were talking about this morning on Talk Sports. It's just, hey, you could just kind of tip your cap. Like, there's nothing wrong with going down to Arkansas on the road in the supers. There's nothing wrong with Tennessee going to back-to-back Elite Eights and then running into 2 number 1 seeds in Houston and Purdue in back-to-back years that prevent you from going to the Final Four. I think you can't be mad about that. They just didn't get any luck in that regard of some of the teams ahead of them going down. You look at football, like there was just kind of bad luck as the team that had to go to Columbus and the team that ended up winning the national title and then steamrolling the Oregon Ducks right after beating you. So, and a lot of people thought Oregon was the team that was going to win it all this past year, and Ohio State dunks on them. So I think by and large, Tennessee didn't really have any playoff formatting luck. But at the same time, Tennessee baseball also just won a national title. So it's like you would love to be South Carolina 2.0 and win back-to-back, and as fun as that would be for that to be the case, Tennessee just lost so much. I think you would, to go back-to-back, Caleb, I wonder if you agree, it's just I think you needed one, maybe even both, of Dylan Dreiling and Kavaris Tears back. I think that was something that you were really missing, especially in the outfield in the middle of that order, to stabilize things moving on from Semo and Burke and company, because I think Fisher definitely replicated and had a better year, I think, overall than Burke in the 2-hole. And Burke was awesome last year, but Keelan's injury stuff and Keelan down the stretch there did not match the same production of what you got from Semo. I mean, but no one's really going to match Semo at the top of the order. But
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think by and large, Tennessee had a great year, and they went farther than any of the last 4 national champions in the SEC went. And you tip your cap, and you just ran into a buzzsaw on a team in the Razorbacks, who, of course, they've never won a College World Series. But would it surprise you at all if they won it this year?
If Arkansas was able to go and win it?
Yeah.
No, I mean they seem to have the team that can do it. Now, I mean, looking at the field, there's a few. As someone mentioned it too, like could it be another non-power Power 4 team? Could that happen this year? I could see that, but I mean, Arkansas. I haven't looked at the betting odds yet. I'm in a state currently on vacation that I can't bet, so I'm not even going to hurt myself with that. Because I assume Arkansas is probably the favorite.
John, do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Arkansas came into the weekend the favorites, and they obviously did nothing against Tennessee to quell that narrative. They are still the favorites, them and LSU.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean here's the thing too is I guess I talked myself into a corner. My one last jab at Arkansas fans that ended up being true for Tennessee. I was like, if as sucky as it is to go play Arkansas in a regional or in a super regional, they already know how to lose at Baum Walker in a super regional, and that was kind of how I thought Tennessee's path to Omaha would appear.
Yep.
And it turns out we found that way. But no, I mean that's a talented baseball team, and it's nothing to hang your head in shame about losing them. So yeah, I think you could be talking about Tennessee losing to an eventual national championship yet again in the same calendar year.
Who will you miss most from this year's Tennessee baseball team who's likely moving on?
I mean, the obvious choice is Liam Doyle now.
Liam, but you know what's funny? And it's because Tennessee...
They're going to replace him?
They're just going to replace Liam Doyle. Like, we know they're going to replace Liam Doyle. Like, maybe not to that same level, but Tennessee has had so many big-time arms that I don't really worry about replacing Liam Doyle. And that's not the thing. But Tennessee, the Friday night guy, they just figured out in the transfer portal. It just doesn't matter. Like, they've been able to find guys to figure – I mean, last year you won a national title with an opener on Fridays and then a transfer in A.J. Causey. So I don't know. The pitcher part of it, to me, I'm like, Tennessee showed they can win with any kind of weekend rotation.
Yeah, I certainly feel that way. I mean, and honestly, for the same kind of reason that they seem to be able to replace hitters, it's like you're going to miss Andrew Fisher, but how much, I don't know. But it kind of goes into like the point you were making of the Dylan Dreiling, Tavares Tiers. Before the season, I would have been like, man, if you keep one of them, I think this team is in a really great spot in the lineup. Now at the end, I'm like, I think you needed both of them to have a chance at all. So I mean, Andrew Fisher is probably another guy you'd like to keep around, but you also feel confident the staff can replace his bat. But,
I think you would have needed both now that we saw it play out, or you needed Ozuna to get cleared, because then you could have put Fish back at third, and you wouldn't have had to have Manny play every day and maybe get maybe a late game addition, kind of in that Jay Abernathy, Errol Antigua role. Put Fisher back on his primary position at third, Ozuna at first, have that power in the middle of the order, and then one of Dreiling or Tiers in the corner outfield spots, so that you have Bargo is more maybe the utility guy off the bench, and then Reese and right. Then you feel a whole lot better.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of ways this team could have set up better, and never the whole NCAA mess with Ozuna. I mean, it feels like Tennessee just tempts their chances with fate. Now you have the guys who have been for a fifth year. It's like we just dared the NCAA to mess with us as much as possible, and that one just really, really stunned the way it played out.
We'll get you out on this, Kaleb. When you look at next year's team, who are you most excited about? Which freshmen are you most excited to go into year two with Tony Vitello and also Quentin Eberhardt and company's weight training program this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, Manny Marin, you have to love getting him back. I think that's one that everybody's going to be excited about all the way through February next year. Tegan Coons, I'm sure, is on the top of that list too. Jay Abernathy, I feel like we were waiting for him to explode, so I'm hoping sophomore year is his year to own a role. And oh gosh, Levi Clark. I mean, we knew what the SEC wall might look like for a freshman, and unfortunately, it did happen with Levi Clark. But you still had some moments down the stretch with him, so I think a big sophomore year is certainly possible for Levi Clark. There's a lot of guys I'm excited about returning, and I mean that's we can trust the Tony Vitello program because we've seen it. So I don't look at this year coming off a national championship and thinking runs over. That was fun while it lasted. Stop the stadium renovations now. No, I mean I think he's got it going.
I love it. Kaleb Mitchell of More Important Issues. You can hear him here on Thursday nights here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. You can also listen to their awesome podcast that comes out multiple times a week over there on More Important Issues, Apple, Spotify, or however you get your podcast. So, Kaleb, thank you, my friend. Enjoy vacation, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kaleb. There you have it. Kaleb Mitchell of More Important Issues. Kaleb and Landon do a great job covering the Tennessee Vols over there. So, and also a team member of here on Fan Run Radio and Fox Sports Knoxville as well. We'll come back with more Tennessee talk and a whole lot more right after this.
For the fans, by the fans. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Okay, so we really need uniforms and equipment for this season. Can I trust you with that? Cool, I'll just order them online. What? Yeah, I'm gonna hop online and I'm gonna get them ordered. Hold up, that's not a good idea. We shouldn't just spend money on some random online retailer, okay? I mean, it seems pretty convenient. Trust me, it's a terrible idea. Let me simplify this for you. SM Athletics. Okay, how do you pronounce it? SM Athletics? They're the go-to for uniforms and equipment, whether it's for universities, high schools, youth leagues, you name it. So So why wouldn't you rather go with professionals who can guide us through the process, design the perfect uniforms, and deliver the best equipment? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. What's the name again? SM Athletics. Right. It's definitely smarter to go with a company that emphasizes customer service, fair pricing, and, of course, excellent products. Exactly. So, yeah, I guess it's settled then. For uniforms and equipment for all sports, it's SM Athletics.
Hey, Fan Run listeners. This winter, our friends at Crumble are bringing you nothing but warmth and joy. With an expanded rotation and a variety of pies and cakes, Crumble is bringing the heat every week to keep you cozy. Download the Crumble app to discover what's in store for you. From party packs to gift cards, even special loyalty rewards, Crumble Cookies has plenty for you and your family this season. Shake the frost this winter and cozy up to your nearest Crumble location.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game, Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Your tax refund belongs to you, not an identity thief. Over $6 billion in tax refunds were flagged by the IRS for possible identity theft last year. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. They monitor and alert you to identity threats you'd miss on your own, even if you're careful with your personal information. And if you do become a victim of tax-related identity fraud, LifeLock has U.S.-based restoration specialists ready to help solve your identity theft issue. Plus, all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. Let LifeLock help protect your financial info, so all you have to worry about is what you do with your tax refund. Go to LifeLock.com, save up to 25% off your first year. The promo code is HERD, promo code HERD, to save up to 25% off your first year. LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Red dress on tonight, dancing in the dark in the pale moonlight. Done my hair up real big, beauty queen style. High heels off, I'm feeling alive. Oh my God, I feel it in the air. Telephone wires above, all sizzling like a snare. Honey, I'm on fire.
We're back here on The Chase, Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, coming to you live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer studio here in East Tennessee. You can listen to us on the Fan Run Radio app, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. But make sure you download that Fan Run Radio app if you have not already. It's free and easy, and the best way to listen to all of our shows, all 13 hours a day, Monday through Friday here at the station. Joined by intern Garrett here. It was great to have Kaleb Mitchell of More Important Issues on at the top of the hour as well. But Garrett, we're going to continue our conversation here with Tennessee baseball. So Tennessee baseball, they go down to Arkansas and go down in 2 games here. Yesterday, it kind of felt like the Vanderbilt-Hoover game, where it just felt over. The body language seemed bad. It was one of those where the grand slam that Adrian Russell gave up, it just felt like that was a backbreaker that Tennessee wasn't going to get over. I also just kind of looked at Tennessee basically getting 1 run with the bases loaded, no outs. That was the biggest backbreaker to me, because I just don't think you're going to be able to win on the road in that kind of environment without really making Arkansas pay. And you saw Arkansas did make Tennessee pay when they loaded the bases in that spot. But based on everything you saw yesterday, what was the biggest reason, in your opinion, that Tennessee lost to Arkansas?
exactly what you said, just not capitalizing on things that they should have capitalized on. I mean, when you have the bases loaded, nobody out, I mean, especially at that point in the game, it was 2-0. You're giving up the 2-run home run. If you can get 2 runs back there, even if you only score 2 runs and tie the game, you're right back in it. Maybe even take the lead. If you take the lead there, the game completely changes because Doyle's then back in control. But then, yeah, like you said, obviously the grand slam was pretty rough. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I think you have to point back to, when Tony took out Liam Doyle. I don't think that was necessarily the wrong choice. I probably would have let him ride out with it because it's kind of our best guy versus their best guy. Whoever wins, wins. Whoever wins that battle, either the inning's over or they score some more runs. I probably would have kept him in. Brings in Krenzel, and his job's to get him out, and I believe he got him down 0-2 or 1-2 on the count, and then he hit him. So that was basically just a free pass, and then Russell comes in and gives up the grand slam, which I hated to see that for AJ because he battles all the way back from surgery, pitches largely pretty well this year, and then, his last moments, kind of unraveled there, so that was kind of tough to watch. But, yeah, I think it was just a culmination of a bunch of different errors that just led into kind of that grand slam, which basically was the goodbye.
And 3 2/3 for Liam Doyle. I'm kind of surprised that there was something about Arkansas that just Liam Doyle could not handle. And I didn't think it would just be a situation where Liam struggled in both appearances in Fayetteville. Granted, this Arkansas offense is legit. They're a big-time program, as John of Talk Sports alluded to here at the top, that they're the favorites for a reason, And there's no shame in going down to the Hogs the way that Tennessee did. But there was some controversy of, do you let Liam Doyle figure it out and get out of that inning? His pitch count was 73 at that point. I don't know. 6 Ks to that point. 5 earned runs was his total. 5 hits, 2 walks. When you saw Tony coming out to pull Doyle in that spot, and then also seeing him go to Krenzel in that spot, what did you make of it? I mean, hindsight being 2020, it obviously didn't work out. But did you agree with Tony pulling Liam in that spot?
Yeah, I mean, like I said a second ago, I probably would have left him in. I mean, obviously, Tony V knows much more about coaching and the intricacies of, lefty on righty matchup, righty on righty. I know that Krenzel came in as a right-handed pitcher because his batting average was significantly lower with a right-handed pitcher, and they wanted, that matchup. So, I mean, I understand that, but I feel like at the same time, you kind of have to throw out matchup at that point out the window. It's like Doyle, when he's on, is the best pitcher in the country. He can get you out of that. I feel like he could have probably gone another inning or two at least. I mean, you said he had 73 pitches. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think in a situation like that, he did pitch, kind of on short rest, but not that much shorter rest than normal. He probably still could have gone at least 100 pitches, obviously. And I mean, it's got to do or die. So if you lose the game, it doesn't matter anyways. But yeah, I mean, what would you have done?
I know hindsight's 2020, but I will say in that moment, I was like, I would just let Liam Doyle ride this out. If Liam Doyle implodes here, or if things get out of hand, then hey, you rode with your guys. Liam Doyle is the one where I think as fans, you look at it and you go, look, man, I don't think any fan would be mad at Tony for sticking with Liam Doyle too long. Now, it'd be a little bit different maybe with Marcus Phillips or Tegan Coons or something, but I don't think any fan would be upset about going down with the ship if it's Liam Doyle. And I also it's a big what if. If Doyle could have gotten a couple Ks and gotten out of there. I mean, he had been in tight spots all year long, and I would have trusted Doyle. Would not have been surprised if he would have been able to get out of that inning in a better situation. But I also just thought it was kind of an eyebrow raiser that you went to Krenzel and then AJ in that spot to begin with. It was a big spot for the freshman, Krenzel, to put him in, and I felt bad for him. And like you said, he was getting strikes on that slider, and it made sense, the matchup that they were trying to take advantage of there. But I do think it was kind of an overthinking of Liam Doyle and just trying to find the best matchup too early. Do you know what I mean? I just think that was it was too early to pull Doyle. His pitch count wasn't crazy. I just think you ride with the guy who got you to this point ultimately. I mean, he obviously huge in those final 3 innings the weekend prior, coming back on short rest. I would have ridden with Doyle, but I also, the broader point of our show today is that this team just did not have the juice altogether, and the lineup clearly did not have the juice. Whether or not they stayed with Doyle didn't ultimately matter. This team still scored 4 runs, and 3 of those runs came in the final 2 frames. you saw Dalton Bargo, Hunter Ensley, and Reese Chapman had a combined 2 hits. They went 2 for 10, 200 in this game. Bargo is 2 for his last 40. Reese Chapman really struggled in a similar way at the 6 hole. Hunter Ensley, unfortunately, Vol legend, will be one of the best Tennessee baseball players this century. Fans will always love Hunter Ensley, but he fell into a cold spell at the worst possible time for Tennessee, unfortunately. So the middle of the order wasn't doing what it needed to do to really make the most of this. And I don't know. I mean, Levi Clark, we talked about, he hit that kind of freshman wall. He didn't deliver in a big way this weekend. I don't know. This lineup just did not have the juice, even if Liam Doyle goes longer, to me, to look at this. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it really would have mattered because Nate Snead, obviously later on in the game, he really kind of struggled down the stretch for Tennessee. He gives up 3 earned runs. He walks a couple people. He didn't have his best stuff. So I don't know. It was just kind of a multitude of things. So yeah, I would have kept Doyle in and ridden, but I also just think Tennessee had a lot of other issues, and it wasn't just pulling Doyle early.
Sure. Yeah, no, I thought one thing that was kind of odd about when they took Doyle out of the game, I don't know if you caught it on the broadcast, but he went back to the dugout and he was talking to Q, who's one of the sports performance guys on the team, and they were kind of just sitting there, and Doyle was just having a laugh with them, and they were just chopping it up, which I don't know. Doyle just seems like usually he's the type of guy that very fiery with his emotions. I would kind of expected him to have been kind of ticked off when he got taken out of the game, but he just didn't really. Nothing wrong with it. It struck me as kind of odd that he wasn't more frustrated that he was pulled from the game that early in a pivotal game like that. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
I just found it to be kind of odd.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just this whole game, like Tony riding with Bargo and Chapman until the end. It's one of those things that I'm sure Tony's gonna be asked about all summer long. But I just look at it. He earned that kind of respect, right? Like Tony won a national title by sticking with his guys. That's one of his staples, is he backs his guys, and whether it's starters, bullpen arms, lineup guys, like he loves to ride for his guys, and it's one of the reasons that makes him an elite baseball coach. But I will say you could have tinkered a little bit, and he did tinker with Reese Chapman a few weeks prior, where he did give him a day off, where Reese was in another cold spell, and he did have Newstrom in that right field spot. I thought Newstrom, if you're going to give Levi Clark every opportunity at DH, like he's just the full-on consistent DH guy, I think Newstrom should have been someone who got an opportunity this weekend in Fayetteville. Like he should have gotten one of those right field starts, I think. And that's not a hindsight's 2020 thing. I think Reese Chapman was very streaky all season long, and you open the door to giving him a day off to let Newstrom see what he can do. Because Newstrom, I think, is going to be a really, really important player for Tennessee in 26, and we'll see if it's a 3-year type deal for him too. But Newstrom, I think, really impressed me throughout the year with his at-bats. I think he's going to be a really good player for Tennessee, perhaps in right field next year. But I just look at that one and maybe sliding Bargo down, because I understand the Bargo one more. He's just like a glue, good teammate, utility guy. I understand why, and he earned staying in that everyday lineup type deal. But I do think you could have moved him down to 4. When Hunter, Bargo, and Chapman are struggling the way they are, you could have moved Curley to 4, and then had your top 4 hitters 1 through 4, and maybe move Hunter. I still would probably keep Hunter at that point, because Hunter was the one that was most surprising to me because of how well he hit all year. He led Tennessee in doubles, 360 plus average. Like Hunter was the one that surprised me most, that was not able to get back on track in the right way. Because Bargo and Chapman have always been streaky. Chapman never kind of put it all together through a full season. He didn't have that Kavares Tears, Dylan Dreiling type jump at Tennessee this year. But I do, and Bargo he's been a utility guy, right? Like Bargo, It doesn't really surprise me that he was a streaky guy as well. Hunter kind of really falling off, even just getting on base was one that just, it bummed me out, man, for Hunter, because he's just been such a great player and such a great leader for Tennessee that it just surprised me that he couldn't figure it out. So I was okay riding and dying with Hunter at the 3-hole, but I would have moved Bargo down. I would have moved Cannon and Levi up a little bit, because I think they were hitting the ball, seeing the ball a little bit better, and move maybe Bargo and Chapman down to 7, 8, 9 with Marin. And just your bottom 3 is kind of what you had the last 2 years with Cal and the DH spot last year. 8, 9 was to struggle all year long, and you still won a title that way. And then in 23, Christian Scott and Cal Stark in that 8, 9 hole. It left a lot to be desired. So it's not like that's something we haven't seen before with Tennessee baseball, but that I think I wonder if Tony thinks about some a little bit. It's just, maybe I should have tinkered, even not taken the guys out, move them down in the lineup to make sure we have as many of our best hot bats at the top of the order getting the most opportunities, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but at the same time, I mean, like you said, Tony rides with his players. Reese and Bargo, while Reese didn't play, that much last year, both of those players were on the Omaha team last year, So he wants to give freshmen the opportunity during the regular season. If they earn, the success to be able to play in the postseason, he's going to give them the opportunity. But I think with the season that Reese and Bargo had, I think you have to keep them in the lineup. I mean, I think when you get to the postseason, it's kind of what you have is what you got. I don't really necessarily think that changing a whole lot of things around is a good idea. I understand what you said, a few things about the batting lineup. I mean, I understand that, but I feel like once you get to this point in the season and it's June, you kind of just have to ride with the guys that you've ridden with the whole season. But I mean, I could have seen a few things different, but I think it was just the production wasn't there.
Yeah, and hey, Tennessee. It's an unbelievable position that Tony Vitello has put Tennessee baseball in. And you go farther than any of the last 4 SEC champions. You go down to the betting favorite, winning it all this year. Wouldn't surprise either of us if Arkansas wins the whole dang thing here. But there are little things, but you have to be honest about things in the moment. And this is not a hindsight 2020 thing. This is something that we've talked about for weeks. This is something that I think is a fair talking point of, hey, Tony, maybe do this, maybe do that. There's nothing wrong with fair, constructive criticism about how the lineup has been managed, maybe how the bullpen's been managed to this point, and also acknowledging that Tony knows a whole lot more about baseball than we will ever know. But it's fair to have these conversations and kind of wonder, man, I wonder if I would love to pick his brain on this, because these are, I think, fair questions that Tennessee fell for some of these reasons, that the middle of your lineup just fell off a cliff. And that is a big part of the reason that Tennessee is no longer playing postseason baseball here in Fayetteville and in Omaha. But I will say the final thing, we'll go to break. Ryan Schumpert of Rocky Top Insider tweeted this out of Tennessee's 2025 hitting season stat leaders. I really hope, even though that Tennessee and this group did not make it back to Omaha for 3 straight years, you do not discount what Andrew Fisher was for Tennessee baseball this year. We thought, okay, maybe just replicate what Billy Amick gave you last year. Home runs, strikeouts, okay defense, and middle of the order, power bat, right? Andrew Fisher was so much better than Billy Amick last year, and so much better than I thought Andrew Fisher was going to be as a whole. He gets on base every single game this year. That's insane. He ties the single season Vol walk rate, leadership stat. Wow, what am I saying? He tied the most walks ever in a single season for any Tennessee baseball player. Andrew Fisher was unbelievable. I did not think he was going to have that kind of patience at the plate. I didn't think he was going to become the complete player that he was. I mean, he has an OPP of 497, slugging of 760, home runs of 25, 41 extra base hits, 65 RBIs, 63 walks. All those are a team best. Andrew Fisher was unbelievable for Tennessee this year, and I hope folks remember just how good he was, even though it was a one-year type deal. I don't think it will be looked at, obviously, as the same as a Dalton Connect for Tennessee, but I do think he is someone, when you look at the stats, you look at all the records he broke this year, and you look at his production from the beginning of the season on, Andrew Fisher was the MVP of Tennessee baseball this year. And I understand Liam Doyle is going to go top 5 in the draft. Andrew Fisher's not going to go that high. He's still hopefully going to go first round. But Andrew Fisher was unbelievable this year, Garrett. And I think it's something that should not be taken for granted, just how dominant he was all across the board, every single game.
Well, not to mention he learned basically a new position, too.
Yeah.
He was not, really expected to be the everyday first baseman, and he played tremendous defense throughout the season. And to me, he seemed like kind of at the end of the year, kind of a leader of this team. You saw him get, how hyped he got the crowd and, the regional last week. And, he just embraced wearing the power tee. And, he's one of those type of guys that you're not going to get out of the transfer portal very often. You just do not expect to get those type of players. He was, like you said, he was probably the most beneficial player to this team all season. It seemed like every time he was at the plate, he had the ability to make some type of big play, whether that was a home run or a base knock that brought multiple players in. And yeah, no, he's a player that we're not going to forget for a really long time. And yeah, he was, even just in his press conferences, you could hear just how much it meant to him when he would talk about playing here at Tennessee and how much it meant, for the fans to show up at Lindsey Nelson. And that's the type of player that you want on your team.
Absolutely. Whole lot more Tennessee talk coming up here after a few words from our sponsors.
Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it these days at Fox Sports Knox. Fox Sports Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
This is Coach Josh Heupel. In football and life, you need a solid defense to protect what matters most. That's where Farm Bureau Insurance of Tennessee comes in. Score peace of mind with Farm Bureau Insurance, the official insurance of the Vols. They're your line of defense. FBITN.com.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance of the Tennessee Vols. I'm here to be that line of defense for all your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871 and go Vols.
Hey, Fan Run listeners. This winter, our friends at Crumble are bringing you nothing but warmth and joy. With an expanded rotation and a variety of pies and cakes, Crumble is bringing the heat every week to keep you cozy. Download the Crumble app to discover what's in store for you. From party packs to gift cards, even special loyalty rewards, Crumble Cookies has plenty for you and your family this season. Shake the frost this winter and cozy up to your nearest Crumble location.
When it's past high noon, it's time for a vodka soda made with a vodka you've actually heard of. I'm talking White Claw vodka soda made with White Claw premium vodka. JB Smooth only drinks vodka soda made with the world's smoothest vodka.
And you can too. Pick you up a bottle of the triple wave filtered vodka that's been distilled 5 times. White Claw Premium Vodka comes in 4 flavors: black cherry, mango, pineapple, and just vodka. You haven't had vodka like this. No one has. White Claw Premium Vodka. Please drink responsibly. Ready to launch your career? Axel Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axel proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axel, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axel Logistics is the place to start your career.
Airlines have just reduced their prices even more. Book 30 days in advance and save big.
Want the absolute lowest prices on your airline tickets? Then call the Low Cost Airlines Travel Hotline right now. For prices so low, we can't publish them anywhere. The only way to access our low rates and save up to 70% is to call. Save hundreds on your vacation tickets by calling right now. You can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. That's 800-631-1754.
Chase here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Make sure you're tapping that Fan Run Radio app. It's free, and you can download it in the App Store wherever and whenever you check out the Fan Run Radio app there. It's free. Listen anywhere, wherever on our app where we're streaming all day long, 13 hours of shows. We got Talk Sports, 7 to 10 in the morning, 10 to 1. We got Under Review. The Chase here, 1 to 3, Monday through Friday. We got The Drive with Russell Smith and The Bear coming up at 3 to 6. We got The Slate, 6 to 7 with John and William, and then Overtime with William from 7 to 8. So 13 hours of great local Tennessee Vols content each and every day here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, AM 1340, FM 105.7. So I appreciate you guys staying with us as we wrap up hour number 1 here on the program. Garrett, final thing before we get to that hour number 2. I thought this was interesting. Matt Zenitz of 247 Sports reporter, college football reporter, does a great job over there. He dropped a little bit of interesting Monday morning, I guess it's like a Monday morning news dump for Tennessee. They added another staff member, and I thought it would be really interesting to talk about Tennessee and where the two sides of the football are at right now, because this is something I did a radio hit at 99 The Game in Atlanta last night, and this is something that I brought up, was there is a disconnect between how national folks see Tennessee football under Heupel versus, I think, you and I and everyone else who watch every game, keep up with them, everything else, day in, day out, 365 days a year. It's that the defense identity and how Tennessee and Tim Banks in particular, who is a top 10 defensive coordinator in this sport, approach this team and that side of the ball is elite. Like, immediately, you see this, and Matt Zennett's quote said, "Have been told that Tennessee is adding Marion Hobby to its defensive staff. Hobby, a former All-SEC player at Tennessee," so a lot of Tennessee fans remember that name, has coached in 4 NFL conference championship games with the Saints, Jaguars, and the Bengals twice, and a Super Bowl. Hobby was also part of Clemson's 2016 national championship team. He's a native of Alabama, so a lot of good recruiting chops. Obviously, Garner, an Alabama guy too. Coach Chop, been great in the Southeast and how he's recruited at the edge spot. He's now your new Leo's coach. You overlook that they also hired Alan Williams, who is a DC in the NFL of late as well. He's a defensive analyst. You bring in Hobby, and I think a lot of people were like raising an eyebrow. Does that mean Rodney Garner is do we really need to appreciate and that we have Rodney Garner? Are we wrapping up here? But then you look at the age. It's the same age. They're the same age, Marion and Rodney. So I think there's like a disconnect in folks and how old they think Rodney Garner is. But this is elite, man. Like I see stuff like this, and I'm like, Tim Banks just makes great, strong, title type hires. And I'm not saying Hobby is going to be the difference between Tennessee winning a national title and not, but what he has done, William Inge immediately to replace Brian Jean-Marie, who goes to Michigan and to be their linebackers coach. William Inge was the co-defensive coordinator on a team that was in the national title game that season prior. He goes out. William Martinez has done a great job recruiting the cornerback spot. Tim Banks is developing the safety spot. You have Rodney Garner obviously doing a great job, elite job coaching defensive line. Elevating Coach Chop, who has been one of the best recruiters on the staff, and the Leah production has spoken for itself. Byron Young, NFL draft pick, James Pierce, first-round draft pick this year. Both of them are doing great. Matthew Butler, still in the NFL with the Raiders. He's an NFL draft pick. Like Omar Norman Lott in the interior, 3rd round to the Kansas City Chiefs. He is in a great spot. He should do pretty well there. This defensive side of the ball and what Tennessee is doing there, if you're a Tennessee fan, you have to be overjoyed with how Tim Banks and keeping Tim Banks has kept this train humming, where you had a top 10 scoring defense last year, Garrett. And I think a lot of people are just like, oh, I don't know about this Tennessee defense, or I don't know about Tennessee in 2025. You know what I know about Tennessee in 2025, and you know what I know about the DNA of Tennessee's defense and how Tim Banks approaches that side of the football is we are going to get elite coaches whenever they are available. We are going to keep stacking and loading up our room with veterans who can recruit, coach, and even coach at the NFL level. Like, I just see this and I'm like, checks out. Like, Tim Banks just adds another big-time hire that no one's going to see, but this guy doesn't even have, he's going to be an analyst. Like, it's stacked what Tim Banks has done.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what you're saying, from the national college football fan to the fan that follows Tennessee every day, there's definitely a disconnect. A lot of people, see that 2022 offense. They think Tennessee's just, kind of a throw it down the field and score, 40 points a game, and the defense is whatever. But, really that's changed ever since Alex Golesh, took the head coaching job at USF. And our offense has been, I think the defense has been so good the past couple of years. We know that the offense doesn't have to be anything special. I go back to the Oklahoma game, especially this year, and you won that game in the trenches with good defense. You didn't have that many explosive offensive plays, and Heupel basically said that was because they knew that they could win that game in a low-scoring fashion. And that was not something that Tennessee was able to do in previous years. That was even the Alabama game last year. That was a game where the 2022 team gave up, 49 points to Alabama when we won?
Yeah, 52-49, yeah.
Yeah, and then this year, you see what the defense has been able to do it's honestly changed what the offense does too, because you don't have to make so many explosive plays down the field, and the defense has really just set up the offense for success. And like you said, this is a hire that, a lot of people aren't even going to know about because it's going to be in an analyst role. But, I think this really is a really great hire.
I mean, Hobby, and then you have Robert Ayers, who's also in there, I think, as an analyst role. He might be an assistant interior defensive line coach. I forgot what his actual title is, but he's in there, and obviously a former Tennessee great, NFL draft pick, long NFL career. You have Ayers, you have Gardner, you have Coach Chop, you have Alan Williams, who has history coaching defensive line too, and now Marion Hobby, who was on the defensive staff for Clemson when they won a natty. Obviously, great work with the Bengals. They've had one of the best defensive lines in the NFL for many years. Then you look at his ties to Tennessee as a former All-SEC player. I'm just like, goodness gracious. Like, Tennessee, that side of the ball is not falling off at all. And it's just so different than how Heupel approaches the offensive side of the ball, which is all youth. Like, outside of Glenn Ellerbe, who is over 40 years old, Joey Halsley, super young, Kelsey Pope, super young, Alec Ablin, super young, D-Rel Sims, super young. It's a totally different animal. And, I mean, you brought in Seth Luttrell as an offensive analyst who has a lot of experience, obviously played with Coach Heupel at Oklahoma in the early 2000s. But, man, that side of the ball is all youth outside of Ellerbe, and it's all guys that Heupel has ties to, right, outside of Darrell Sims to this point, that Tim Banks looks at it completely different. Tim Banks is like, I'm just going to go get the best guys, and I'm just going to stack my room with as much coaching talent as possible. And it doesn't matter what the relationships are or how well Willie knows Rodney or William Inge knows Willie or William Inge knows Tim Banks. He's just like, I want to go get the best defensive coaches I can, and they're all vets. Like, all these guys are long-tenured college football coaches or NFL coaches or just coaches in general. The offensive side of the ball is just still so green, and that's why I like the Seth Luttrell hire this offseason. It's just like, not only does he know Coach Heupel, but you talked about with Alex Golesh. Like, it's not necessarily just like the Alex Golesh is the reason they've fallen off, but Alex Golesh was not a long-time Heupel lieutenant. Like, Heupel found him at Iowa State, and he's been all over. And Alex Golesh is not running the Heupel scheme at USF or anything. Like, he's his own coach. So I think that is something that they have been missing. It's just that, like, that whole group now is just very young and very green under Heupel on the offensive side of the ball. And what Banks is doing, I wish Heupel would do more of that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of do see it on the offensive side of the ball, just because I feel like offense is ever-changing in the modern football game, and some of these younger coaches really are able to push through a playbook that maybe some of the older coaches may not see as well. And you see some of these teams that run more of a modern offense that are coached by younger coordinators. And, that works for some. I mean, one that I go back to is the new FAU coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech, and he's, I think, 31 or 32 years old, and they have one of the most explosive offenses in the country. And then defense is kind of more of just a thing where you're going to win that in the trenches, and, the way that an older player plays defense, in their playing days to the way that they coach defense now may not really change much. But you look at the way that offense was played maybe 30 years ago to the way that offenses are ran now, and there's a lot of differences, especially in college football.
Yeah, it's just so funny. Like, you look at the difference. It's just such a complete different ideology and approach to both. And it doesn't mean that Heupel is necessarily wrong to this point, because he did have the number one offense in college football during his time here at Tennessee. But the last 2 years, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that the last 2 years have been the more arduous years for Heupel post-Golesh, and just with how young of an offensive staff it is, with Kelsey Pope, with Alec Ablin, with Joey Halsey especially, like, all good coaches, good recruiters, but they're green. Like, they're all really young, and they're all Heupel lieutenants. And with Tim Banks, it's just a bunch of really smart veteran coaches that know how to develop talent, and then also a good enough amount of recruiters that you're just stacking blue chippers everywhere. Like, that defensive line stacked with blue chippers. Tennessee is only going to have a blue chip room. They're going to have their first two deep of blue chippers at linebacker in the Heupel era. Like, they're loaded at linebacker. I mean, getting Christian Gass was a huge win this past cycle. Jaden Harmon, they flip him from Alabama, from Rome. Just they have so many four stars in that room right now at linebacker. Cornerback, obviously, Willie Martinez has done a great job identifying talent there and developing guys, even if they're out of the portal, but he's also developed guys in-house. He developed Ricky Gibson, who's going into his third year and should be great opposite of Jamad McCoy and company. But, man, Boo Carter I think, poised for a breakout year 2. I'm super excited, as you know, about Boo. But, man, it is interesting that Tennessee, I see that this morning, that Tim Banks adding another high-quality defensive assistant here, man. And that side of the ball is just loaded. So anyone who's worried about Tennessee's defense with losing Pierce and Omar Lott and company, I wouldn't be worried about it. I think Tennessee's defense is going to be one of college football's best again next year.
He's just such an underrated, DC, too. I think, he came here from Penn State, and I believe it was 2020. And, fans in 2022 after that South Carolina game were calling for him to be fired. And then now 2 years later, you have one of the top defenses really in all of the country.
Yep.
It just shows how much, I guess it's not even that he's really evolved. I think that it was just stark differences of what it was in 2022 to 2024. He has more to work with and more to play with now. And now that he has a roster on defense that he has really elite players at a lot of the different positions, he's really able to get the most out of those players and show how good of a coach he really is.
We'll wrap up here. Hour number 2 as we jump into this Monday edition here on the Chase Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. We got Garrett here, intern Garrett, as we continue talking Tennessee football. We'll talk Tennessee Titans, some Kaleb Beasley deep dive, who's a name that Tennessee football fans should know going into the 2025 season, and a whole lot more Tennessee talk here on the Chase in hour number 2. Coming up right after this.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Ready to launch your career? Axle Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axle proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axle, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axle Logistics is the place to start your career.
Planning for spring at Lowe's means big savings on outdoor power equipment, and Lowe's knows nothing feels better than free. Buy one select Ego string trimmer, leaf blower, or mower kit. Get one select 56-volt battery free. That's up to a $299 value. Power through spring with Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 4/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
When it's past high noon, it's time for a vodka soda made with a vodka you've actually heard of. I'm talking White Claw vodka soda made with White Claw premium vodka. JB Smooth only drinks vodka soda made with the world's smoothest vodka.
And you can too. Pick you up a bottle of the triple wave filtered vodka that's been distilled 5 times. White Claw Premium Vodka comes in 4 flavors: black cherry, mango, pineapple, and just vodka. You haven't had vodka like this. No one has. White Claw Premium Vodka. Please drink responsibly.
We really need to get some branded stuff. Shirts, hats, promo items, something professional.
I mean, we could just find a website and order a bunch of it ourselves.
You could, but you're taking a big risk. You don't know the quality, the fit, the timeline. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, I guess, but isn't that how everyone does it now?
Not the ones who actually care about how their brand looks. Look, if we're putting our name on it, it needs to be done right. We need SM Athletics.
SM Athletics?
Yeah, they specialize in working with businesses like ours. Apparel, hats, promo gear, but real, customized stuff. They actually care if it turns out right.
Probably a lot better than getting stuck with 100 t-shirts with crooked logos.
Exactly. Plus, they'll walk you through everything. Sizing, colors, material, so it matches the image we're trying to build.
Makes sense. What's the name again?
SM Athletics. Trust me, if you want to look like a real company, not a flea market stand, this is the move. If you're serious about your brand, work with people who are serious about getting it right. SM Athletics.
Are you ready to show off that confident, radiant smile you've always dreamed of? Well, here at Knoxville Smiles, we're ready to turn your dream into a reality. At Knoxville Smiles, we're more than just a dental practice. We're your partners in achieving optimum oral health. From routine cleanings and checkups to advanced cosmetics and restorative procedures, we offer a wide range of services in an environment that makes every visit a positive and comfortable experience. At Knoxville Smiles, it's about more than just treatments. We're focused on creating a welcoming environment where you feel like family. Our state-of-the-art facilities are designed with your comfort in mind, and our friendly staff is always ready to address your questions and concerns. Don't wait any longer to achieve a beautiful smile you deserve. Schedule your appointment at Knoxville Smiles today and take that first step towards a healthier, happier you. Call us at 865-539-1776 to book your appointment today, or just visit our website at knoxvillesmiles.com.
It's the Chase! It's the Chase! Live 1 to 3, Monday through Friday on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to Chase and his friends on WKGN. It's the Chase! It's the Scruffy City! Listen to his friends, and his friends are on WKGN. I'm always taking your calls on the Tennessee Vols. It's the Chase! It's the Chase! It's the Chase!
It's the Chase here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Chase Thomas coming to you live from East Tennessee. We got intern Garrett co-hosting with us today. We have a jam-packed show here, so I hope you guys enjoyed hour number 1. Thank you for sticking with us for hour number 2, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Download that Fan Run Radio app today. It's free and easy and the best way to listen to all of Fan Run shows all day long. You just click it and all of our content playing right away for 13 hours a day, Monday through Friday. So once again, thank you guys for sticking with us here on The Chase as we start week number 2 here this summer. And it's officially football season, and as Garrett talked about here at the top of the show, it's officially talking season. Athlon Sports, their preview got released this past week. We got Phil Steele coming out here soon enough at Barnes & Noble, so I'm excited to make that yearly pilgrimage over there and pick up Phil Steele's annual to do a deep dive into the Vols there. I did talk to Phil last year on the podcast, and he was pretty negative on Tennessee, especially Tennessee's secondary. And I disagreed. I said Tennessee was going to be a 10-win team and CFP team. He was pretty dubious, if you remember Phil Steele's annual about the Vols. But not to put Phil on blast here, Garrett, but he was pretty I don't know. He was not bullish. I would not describe Phil Steele as bullish on the Vols in 24. And they were. They won 10 games, went to the CFP.
Do you do the paperback version or do you do the online version of the?
I need the. Maybe this is because I'm older and I'm 34 years old, but I need the physical copy. Like all my books, I'm not a Kindle guy. Like I need my library of books. I need my magazines. I get Sports Illustrated, the magazine still, or sent to my house. Like I don't know. I need the physical copy.
Okay.
I don't know. Are you the same way, or are you more of a digital guy?
I got it hardback last year. But I'm pretty sure when you bought the hardback version, you got it on the phone too. I remember scrolling through it at one point. But yeah, no, I had it on the hardback as well. So
it's just nice, man. Like,
yeah,
I love that.
No, it's when that comes out, that's when you know that the football season's right around the corner.
And shout out to those guys because I mean, just with the era of the portal, it's so hard to know when to hit publish.
You don't even want to really start doing anything until the portal closes, and then by then you only have 3.5 months or whatever to cover 130-something FBS teams. So
we got 2 more this year, right? We're up to 136 because Missouri State, the Bears, and Delaware, the Blue Hens,
Conference
my favorite uniform.
USA. They're going to be doing some midweek CUSA action.
Dude, you're all in. I know
Tuesday night
you're be locked in.
Oh yeah, I watch football when it's on. I'm watching MACtion. I'm watching CUSA. I'm watching late night Mountain West. If college football's on the TV, I'm watching it.
There you go. I mean, Northern Illinois, though, is getting taken away from us in MACtion.
Yep.
Are they gone this year or is it next year?
No, they're heading to the Mountain West in 26. So, when you think of DeKalb, Illinois, you really think of Mountain West, So
it's the Mountain West is weird because I thought we were going to come together with the Mountain West and Pac-2, but now some Mountain West schools are going to the Pac-2 and some are staying.
Like their kind of top schools, so like Boise State, San Diego State, schools like that, and then some of the smaller schools got dropped and left behind. But I think it'd be interesting if they did like a conference with some of those West Coast, G5 schools, or not G5, excuse me, FCS schools that are really good. I mean, even like the Dakota schools, like if you made that into an FBS conference with maybe South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and then some of the other schools that are out there, that would be a really good conference, I feel like.
Idaho's got that awesome dome.
Yeah,
like bring the Vandals back.
Yeah. Idaho, Montana's really good. They're always a player. In the FCS playoffs, they have a cool stadium too.
Montana State has maybe the best one. Have you seen their backdrop of the mountains? Yeah.
No, they're all pretty good. Especially those FCS playoff games. You get some snow coming down. Early December. It's a good environment out there for those games.
I love it, man. You're locked in. Like as the year goes on, I think we're gonna end up talking some Mountain West football here down the street. I mean, I'm a big Hawaii guy. I grew up. Colt Brennan was maybe my favorite quarterback of the 21st century. Love Colt Brennan.
Well, you got to pass the Hawaii test. You start the day at noon, and then you go to the midnight game. And if you can get through the Hawaii game, you pass the Hawaii test for the day. So that was you watched 16 hours straight of college football.
I love it. Speaking of college football here, year 2 report as we continue on this series here, Garrett. Kaleb Beasley, year 2 player, 4-star out of Lipscomb Academy. One of the things that I think fall football fans have to keep in mind, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Tim Banks and company, is that they like to recruit versatile combo secondary players. So it's not just like we're bringing in a corner or we're bringing in a safety or we're bringing in a star. Like we want you to be able to cross-train, and we'll see where you ultimately fit once we get you to campus, right? Like it's just you're not locked in. Like anyone who's just like penciling in Ty Redmond or Dylan Lewis or Marcus Gorey or even Kaleb Beasley to this point. It's just let it play out, see where Tennessee has needs, and see where things go. Because Christian Charles bounced back and forth between corner and safety a lot in his Tennessee career. You got to be able to be versatile and play multiple spots in Tim Banks' secondary. That being said, they suddenly have a huge role for Kaleb Beasley in year 2, and he's got to be ready to play. He's a super talented kid, blue chip guy, like I said, from the Mustangs over there at Lipscomb. And he is now in a position with Idris Farouk, who was in the class ahead of him, 3-star kid out of another powerhouse in Maryland at St. Francis. He's a heavy hitter. I think some Vol fans remember him lowering his shoulder a couple times this past year, kind of like Jacoby Thomas, where he's Idris Farouk is not afraid to deliver the hammer here. So he's someone I could see being a Tennessee fan favorite, but that looks like it's going to be the battle opposite of Andre Turrentine because Christian Charles gone to Virginia. He enters the portal, and Jacoby Thomas surprisingly hitting the portal, and he's now at Miami. So Tennessee's going to have some turnover there at that spot next to Turrentine, who will be a 3-year starter now, which will be helpful as one of the leaders of that defense. But I think it's a sneaky, huge summer battle because I think people are looking at position battles and they're thinking quarterback, obviously, but they're not thinking safety. And I think that is going to be a really intriguing battle, and I think they'll be able to rotate because Banks does rotate back there. But who wins that one? Anyone just penciling in Idris Farouk or Kaleb Beasley, I think would be mistaken because I think this is going to be something to monitor this summer and into fall camp. But it's a good problem to have because these are 2 talented guys. I think they're 2 very different players. But if Beasley wins this job, Garrett, did you know he will be the first blue chip safety starter in the Tim Banks era at Tennessee if he wins it?
I did not know that, but I mean that does, you say that kind of checks out, I guess. I feel like a lot of the players that have come here, they've either been transfers or they've kind of just developed under the system. But yeah, like you said, a lot of these guys, they kind of come in with the defensive back title. They can play safety or corner, they're going to be in the secondary. But yeah, I think they just have to be versatile. I think whoever's the most versatile player is going to win the battle because, as you said, in his defense, you're not just going to be tasked with doing one different job. You're going to have to create and mix and do different things. Different schemes are going to happen and stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting battle to monitor this offseason throughout the summer.
So he doesn't really count. Like Beasley would be the first Banks guy, like recruited Banks, 4-star guy. But Beasley, I thought was interesting. So Cooper Patanga, who does a really great job for 247 Sports, I went to Beasley's recruiting profile there, and just to do a refresher on him and just kind of get ready for the year and what Cooper thought of Beasley as a prospect coming out of high school. And I thought this was interesting. He said, quote, projects to a high-level multi-year starter at the next level that could potentially move to the safety position with his combination of range, instincts, and ball production. Smart and instinctual football player that won't blow you away with elite testing, but is a better athlete than advertised and should be able to contribute early on Saturdays in a potential special teams role. I thought that was interesting because I think coming in, it was assuming he was going to be a corner because that's where he played at Lipscomb. But then Cooper was kind of on this early, like he might be a safety. And he's, I think, 6'1", just thereabout, bigger bodied, feels like he's long enough to be that kind of safety type and less of a corner. But you also thought because there's not a natural backup to Boo Carter right now, you were like, well, maybe Kaleb Beasley works behind Boo and gives Boo break if Boo has to play a lot of offensive snaps, right? Like we don't really know what Boo's snap count is going to be this season until we start seeing some meaningful games for Tennessee football. But I do think it's super interesting because Beasley, I think, has a lot of upside. Patanga liked Beasley a lot coming out of high school. And he's someone that did not play a lot, obviously, in the 2-deep last year, behind a lot of vets. But this year, man, he might be starting opposite of Andre Turrentine if he can win this battle this year. But I think he could be a ball hawk. I think he's someone that if you have Turrentine, Beasley, and Boo Carter, if they grow according to plan, that's a really sneaky great back three. And I mean, I'm still high on Idris Farouk, just a very different player than Kaleb Beasley.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you look at his frame, 6'1", 200. Like you said, he didn't get that many, only 2 solo tackles last year, 1 pass deflection, so obviously he didn't play a whole lot. But, I mean, just as we were talking about earlier, with Banks, that Banks is going to be able to develop these players into high-level players. We've seen what he's done over the past couple of years. So even if you have a guy that comes in as a true sophomore that didn't play much last year as a true freshman, I don't think that's really anything to worry about as long as he's getting those reps in camp and he's the one that beat everybody out for the job. If he's doing it in camp, he can do it on the field, I feel like. So
yeah. And speaking of Banks in the safety spot, Will Brooks, who had I think a solid year as a walk-on, people were really panicking what that room was going to look like with Will Brooks taking over. And I mean, obviously a big, awesome pick 6 against NC State, a huge pick against Alabama to close that one out. I mean, Will Brooks was solid for the majority of 2024 for Tennessee. Luke Thompson from Franklin, he's a 3-star athlete, and I think he projects as a safety in Tim Banks' scheme. So I think Tennessee is their only power to offer for Thompson. But he ran a 4.41 in the 40, so a super speedy kid. He's been recruited as a receiver too, but I think it seems like he would be a safety if he elects to commit to Tennessee. His parents, though, there is a Tennessee connection. His mom, Sharon, is a former cross-country and track and field standout, according to Ryan Callahan of Go Vols 247, and who was an All-American and All-American and a SEC champion. And his dad, also according to Callahan, Kevin Thompson, is a former decathlete at Tennessee who was a walk-on receiver as well. So a lot of Tennessee orange running through Thompson's household. So that's one to watch, I think, this summer in this class. And someone who might be that long-term project guy for Tennessee, but super speedy. And Banks has done well finding those diamond in the roughs at the safety spot. So Luke Thompson, probably not someone to monitor being on the field in key spots for Tennessee football at the safety spot the next 2 years, but 3 years from now, Luke Thompson might be a name to just jot down.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, especially like what you said with Will Brooks. I mean, that's a name that 2 years ago no one expected that he would have got, the amount of playing time that he did last year. And I think that shows that even the diamonds in the rough, Banks is able to develop them to get them into high-level players in the field, high-level secondary players. And I trust him on the defense and especially in the secondary role.
Absolutely. Come back with some Tennessee Titans talk here. Some Cam Ward conversation and where Titans are at in the receiver room. Very curious about Garrett's perspective on this one. We might also get John in here as a big-time Titans guy to talk some wide receiver buzz for the Titans, and then wrap up with some ESPN FPI season predictions for Tennessee and where they've got the Vols finishing among their SEC peers. All that coming up next here in hour number 2, The Chase. Stay with us. Fox Sports Knoxville, Fan Run Radio. Back with more right after this.
The flagship station for Tennessee football. Fans. Fan Run Radio.
Yeah, it's another day, but what kind of day is it really? A day of doom scrolling? Laundry day? Nah, it's a White Claw day. Light and refreshing tasting, uniquely cold way filtered. There's an iconic flavor for everyone. So grab a pack, grab your friends. Make the most of each day with those who matter most. When you're together with White Claw, every day is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You just gotta grab it. White Claw. Grab life by the claw. Please drink responsibly. Hard seltzer with flavors. White Claw Seltzer Works, Chicago, Illinois.
We make it easy to save money. Get access to thousands of discounts on shopping, dining, and travel with the C&B Plus Perks account. It's a powerful new way to save money with roadside assistance, cell phone protection, identity theft protection, and credit monitoring. Banking at C&B has its perks. Call or stop by a branch for more details.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Do you love to gamble? Do you enjoy listening to people talk about gambling? Well, then I have some good news for you. Every weeknight at 6 p.m., you can hear John Reed and William Pattison go over the slate, thanks to our friends at VIP Play. Sports topics aren't always black and white, but on the slate, they are always green. Nothing but trends, angles, and bets to try to make you some money. The Slate, presented by VIP Sports on Fan Run Radio, weeknights from 6 to 7 p.m.
Airlines have just reduced their prices even more. Book 30 days in advance and save big.
Want the absolute lowest prices on your airline tickets? Then call the low-cost airlines travel hotline right now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. The only way to access our low rates and save up to 70% is to call. Save hundreds on your vacation tickets by calling right now.
You can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. That's 800-631-1754.
The Chase here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, hour number 2, week number 2 here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. As we continue on here on the program, we've got Garrett to talk about some Tennessee Titans. We're going to get John here in just a second to talk about where Tennessee, the Titans, that is, where they stand in terms of their receiver room. Because one of the things I like about the NFL that I think is super fascinating, and there's so much strategy involved year over year in how you develop, and when you draft a quarterback number 1 overall, like the Titans just did with Cam Ward, right? You are signaling like we're going for it because it's different. You want to surround those guys with as much offensive and defensive line firepower to maximize that window with that rookie contract with quarterback. Because Theo Ash, friend of the pod, and friend of mine from Stay Hot, a great NFL podcast year over year, He's talked about that and done the deep dive and just the carnage of teams who have allocated like 30+%, I think, of their cap to the quarterback. It's just a doomsday situation for most teams outside of like the Chiefs with Mahomes and stuff like that. Like Brady and the Patriots were able to keep this thing humming in a large part because of the deals that Brady was taking with the Pats. Like it's really, really hard to keep this thing sustainable and be a big-time consistent winner in the NFL when you pay your quarterback, because most of those guys just don't end up being good enough to be worth like a third of your roster and to take up that much cap. So you get to enjoy Cam Ward early on as a Titans fan, but you also have to understand that now that you've taken a guy like Cam, number 1 overall, the clock's ticking. Like you have to now go for it and go all out. And you look at this receiver room in year 1, Garrett, when you look at the Titans receiving room, does it feel like Cam Ward is in the best position to thrive right out of the gate with what he's working with?
I mean, there's definitely some guys in there that I like, especially like a guy that they drafted this year, like Alec Aomera, from Stanford. I thought that guy was really good. I mean, 2 years ago, he was matched up against Travis Hunter in that game out there in Boulder. And, I mean, he was just absolutely incredible against him. He had that ridiculous catch where he like caught it on top of his helmet on Hunter. I think he's going to be an interesting piece, that they got. And then obviously like Restrepo that they picked up as an undrafted free agent. Like I don't understand how he didn't go drafted. And those are guys that aren't even going to be like wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 in your receiving room. I honestly think it's a pretty solid receiver room, to be honest with you. But
do you share that sentiment, John, as a Titans super fan?
I prefer to fix the offensive line first, which is I feel like has been priority number 1. We'll see about the wide receivers. I do think I'm optimistic about Calvin Ridley this upcoming year. I do think Calvin Ridley didn't get enough credit for having a pretty solid season with a disaster of a quarterback and a disaster of an offensive line last year. So I am looking forward to seeing him maybe now with a strong arm that can maybe not get sacked every time he drops back. As far as the rest of the wide receivers, I do agree with what Garrett said about Almanor. I do think his metrics and some of the stuff that he showed at college make me hopeful. I do think the Titans have a decent selection of tight ends as well. That could maybe be some, outlets for him. I thought Chig showed some things the back half of the year last year. Maybe he can kind of be that release, that safety net. And then, I think you got a duo of good running backs out of the backfield as well with Pollard and Spears. I feel like, of course, Pollard, having played some receiver at Memphis, I think he is a underutilized back out of the backfield. I think you'll see more of that. That's what was so tough about judging the Titans offseason, Chase, was that I don't know how much of it was a Callahan problem mixed in with how much of it was a Will Levis processing things with pressure in his face because the offensive line wasn't great either problem. And hopefully both of those situations are fixed and improved. And if Cam Ward can just be average, this offense might look a lot different.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the Ridley part of it because, does it feel like to a lot of Titans fans that he had a great year last year because he was 8th in receiving yards. He caught over 1,000 yards for the Titans last year. I saw on PFF he averaged 14 points, fantasy points per game from week 8 until the end of the season, which was 30th among wide receivers. It's a big year, but I look at the PFF released their top 32 wide receivers in 2025 heading into the season. Titans have 0 wide receivers in that group. Treylon Burks is not, I think we can go ahead and just say he's not going to live up to where he was drafted. Ridley, I think, was a great pickup, but Burks, it feels like that ship has sailed. But the one that I kind of come back to and I kind of wonder, George Pickens, as a guy who is so good at just his catch radius and catching contested balls and potentially inaccurate balls that he's had to deal with in Pittsburgh over the years, I understand it probably would have been a one-year flyer. Maybe you can do something to talk him into being a multi-year guy for the Titans. But obviously you've never replaced the A.J. Brown spot, but you saw how important A.J. Brown was early on for the Titans and what he did for them and what that room looked like post A.J. Brown. But I think that is one I'm kind of wondering, should they have taken a flyer? Should they have added Pickens to this room where Cam Ward, accuracy, we'll see what he looks like in the NFL level with his completion percentage and his accuracy. But you saw the cost for somebody like George Pickens. Would you have been mad if they had gone a little, not all in, but really just added as much firepower with Ridley and Burks and company for Ward?
Would I have been mad? No, I would have been.
Knowing the price.
I would have been willing to ride it out. Now, what I will say, Chase, is that I feel like certain wide receivers seem like a bad idea for young quarterbacks. And I know Cam Ward's getting a lot of respect and a lot of love for his leadership and the way he handles himself, but George Pickens feels like on the wrong side of the knucklehead scale. Like, I don't want that level of knucklehead around my quarterback, especially my rookie quarterback that is trying to make his way in the league. Now, I do think Cam Ward, everything I hear and read about him and see about him, screams leader, screams guy that's not going to be overwhelmed by his teammates or by the moments. Like, I do think he can handle that, but I think you got to let him get started and get some reps. Now, Cam Ward year 3 can maybe handle someone on the wrong side of the knucklehead scale, but let's not start his career off that way.
What about Brandon Ayuk? He's been in trade rumors. Would you give up a first rounder for Ayuk?
No. Not a first rounder with him coming off the knee issue and at the price tag. No. Like, if you'd asked me this time last year, if Cam Ward was the quarterback last year and Brandon Ayuk was on the market, because at the time last year, I think all the numbers, all the smart people looked and said, hey, Brandon Ayuk's actually like low-key a top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah.
That didn't feel that way last year watching him play even before he got hurt. And I understand, he didn't have a training camp, so he's a little bit, catching up to speed at the beginning, but yeah, no, not at this point with Brandon Ayuk. Not with all that money.
Is Tyreek Hill cooked, or is he someone that you're like, man, that'd still be pretty nice for a couple of years of Cam Ward?
Get a little Miami boy to come hang out with Cam Ward. Okay, I could be on board with that one, but again, the price tag just seems so much. Like, yeah. I know, I agree with your premise, Chase, that when you have a rookie quarterback, you go all in. But I think you wait till like year 2 or year 3 at most before you go all in. Like, I think you try to fix the trenches, both offensively and defensively, and then year 2 or year 3 you swing and go get him a big receiver. That's kind of what I think.
I feel like another receiver, like in the room, he's probably not going to have insane production, but just for the leadership role, I feel like Tyler Lockett's like a pretty solid piece to have. Obviously he's not the player that he was, in Seattle early in his career, but I still feel like he adds, a valuable asset to the receiver room.
Yeah. Where does Treylon Burks rank in all-time bad first-round picks for the Titans? He has 20 catches the last 2 seasons. He has 1 touchdown in 3 years for the Titans, averaging 6 yards per reception over his career with the Titans. Longest reception last year was 13 yards. Goodness gracious.
You can go and check the stats since you got them pulled up. Does A.J. Brown still have more Super Bowl trophies than Treylon Burks has touchdowns? At least receiving touchdowns, I believe that's a stat.
Oof.
Can you go and verify that for me? The sad thing is, when you ask where he ranks in terms of worst first-round picks for the Titans, you have 3 of maybe the worst first-round picks in back-to-back-to-back years, which is how you end up falling apart like the Titans did and drafting number 1 overall. Is Treylon Burks the worse pick than Caleb Farley and his busted back and busted ACL? I don't know. Are either of them worse draft picks than Isaiah Wilson, who was, cut after a year? Or I guess we traded him for like a 7th-round pick. Because I would still say Isaiah Wilson's the worst first-round pick. And Treylon Burks doesn't come close to counting up to that. But when you consider you traded A.J. Brown, it looks a lot worse for Brother Burks.
Isaiah Wilson is like the all-time bad luck because, like, Andrew Thomas, just plug and play, has been a linchpin tackle for the New York Giants. Broderick Jones has been great as a plug-and-play tackle for the Steelers. Isaiah Wilson, the absolute not plug-and-play right tackle, left tackle for the Titans. He's still only 26 years old. Like, it's crazy how quickly it was done. 2020, right out of the gate there, and, man, it's an all-timer. Like, I don't think anything's going to top Isaiah Wilson.
Garrett, can you get me an update? Can you Google, YouTube, see if you can find me an update on his rapping career? Because the last time I saw something from him like 2 or 3 years ago, he was now a rapper. But I blame COVID. I blame COVID. It was the COVID draft. You couldn't really get in and get like interviews in person. You couldn't really get a vibe for him. He was able to fool people. I'll never forgive Sam Pittman because the quotes all coming out with Sam Pittman. Loved Isaiah Wilson. Great guy. Great kid. I feel duped.
Oof. But the offensive line, okay. Skoronski looks like a positive. You got J.C. Latham in there. Looks like the offensive line's going to be okay. And you bring in Bill Callahan, which is the most important offseason addition. Brian was able to get his dad back in the building.
Well, he was there last year and was pretty bad in there last year, but I'm not blaming him for the lack of talent on that offensive line. But I keep saying every year as a Titans fan, and if you listen to Talk Sports, you've probably heard me say it, the offensive line can't possibly be worse than it was the year before. And somehow for 3 straight years they have managed to keep being worse at offensive line. But I'll say it this time with all this wood here to knock on. The 2025 Titans offensive line cannot be as bad as it's been the last 3 years. We have to start getting better, which makes me a little optimistic for the season.
I think you're going to be all right. You feel pretty good. It's going to be okay, John.
Yeah.
According to an article, his rap career went quote-unquote worse than you could imagine.
Oh, so maybe even worse than him being a first-round pick. Maybe even worse than his first-round NFL draft pick career. Any updates? Did he go bankrupt?
He went by the stage name of Gigi Bowser and deleted all of his music in 2021.
Oh. Okay.
So, not sure what he's up to these days, but it doesn't sound like he's rapping anymore.
Good game, Panda. Good game, Gigi Bowser.
But Calvin Ridley, I think, has to have a huge year. Calvin Ridley, the Cam Calvin connection has to be big time for the Titans. Because I just expecting anything out of Treylon Burks at this point is just kind of like, what are we doing? That ship has sailed.
If he can be on the field, I'll be happy with Treylon Burks. If he can just string together some games and actually get out there and play, that would feel like a success. Although there is a part of me holding on to the hope that, Corey Davis, it took him until year 4 before he really clicked and started playing well. But
that's the name I've not heard in a long time. Corey Davis, Western Michigan legend.
Titans legend, helped spearhead that Titans run. But, Calvin Ridley, I think if he's, strangely enough, maybe you don't think of him that way, but a grizzled veteran at this point that, should be a pretty good safety blanket, should be a pretty reliable receiver for a young guy. So I'm excited for him and to see what he can do, like I said, with some actual juice and excitement around the team.
Yeah, I'm very curious what it all looks like for them ultimately, but Titans, they're gonna be fun at the very least. Like I was talking to Shump last week about this. You're now in this boat. I'm in this boat with Michael Penix Jr. There is nothing more fun in the NFL than having your franchise quarterback. Like the guy first round, like Will Levis was a second round guy. Like you could kind of get excited a little bit because the deep ball was there and you could kind of talk yourself into it. But second rounders just don't have a great history. Like for every Andy Dalton or Brett Favre or Drew Brees, there's so many more who do not work out. First round picks, especially in the top, number 1 overall, just have a much better hit rate. And this seems like a 1 quarterback draft potentially, and the Titans got their guy, and Cam Ward didn't ever think the pick. But there's nothing more fun than drafting the guy who had the number 1 scoring offense in college football a year ago and hoping that he can be your Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, instant impact, just fun offense. Because there's just nothing better in the NFL, being an NFL fan, than having a quarterback who can be a top 10 type quarterback year over year.
Everything is about hope.
Yes.
Nothing makes you more hopeful than the idea of a franchise quarterback. Like, I would say that the Will Levis experiment was not fun, but I'll even go back. I mean, I don't really think anything outside of the run his rookie year has been very fun for even the Titans in general with first-round quarterbacks, and they've had their swing at a couple. Jake Locker, that wasn't a fun experience. Marcus Mariota wasn't really a fun experiment or experience. So, Vince Young gave us some moments. I'm hoping that Cam Ward can actually be that guy worthy of being the number 1 overall pick that can be a franchise changer. No one's going to be as good or able to replicate what Jaden Daniels did, but I'm hoping for just that type of hope and that type of excitement.
I mean, due to the law of percentages, they can't just keep swinging and missing. They have to make contact with the ball at some point.
That is what I keep telling myself, Garrett. But I once sat at a roulette board, at a roulette table just looking and saying, well, it's hit black 6 times in a row. Surely it's going to be red this time. No, black again.
Have you seen that?
Didn't play long enough.
Maybe.
Have you seen that TikTok of that kid at the parking deck where he like pulls up his phone and immediately starts playing like blackjack to pay for his parking for the day? Where it's like I'm only going to play for like free parking. So he just like is standing in line and he keeps doing it over and over again. He keeps losing and he's like at minus 80 or something, and then he finally hits and gets back to even and makes money and then goes through the line. It's just full on degenerate stuff, but it's a great reel.
I haven't seen that one. I did see one where a guy said he couldn't pay his rent and then like was allegedly gambling like thousands of dollars, and then according to him at the end of it bought a house, but I don't know how realistic that was. But that's the gambling one I saw. I haven't seen the free parking one.
The free part, there's some really funny ones, but it's hilarious because he does it so quickly under pressure, like cars lining up behind him and just doing it over like ready to go.
Oh, that would send me over the edge. That would send me over the edge if I knew somebody was just sitting up there scrolling their phone instead of paying for the parking.
Yeah, it's some people built different, had that dog in him. Like he was like, I'm not moving until I get this paid for.
Yeah, that person should be beaten up.
It sounds like an addiction.
Well, it happens. But final segment here on The Chase as we wrap up hour 2 coming up here after a few quick words from our sponsors.
Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever the they're calling it these days at Fox Sports Knox. Fox Sports Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
Okay, so we really need uniforms and equipment for this season. Can I trust you with that? Cool, I'll just order them online. What? Yeah, I'm gonna hop online and I'm gonna get them ordered. Hold up, that's not a good idea. We shouldn't just spend money on some random online retailer, okay? I mean, it seems pretty convenient. Trust me, it's a terrible idea. Let me simplify this for you. SM Athletics. Okay, how do you pronounce it? SM Athletics? They're the go-to for uniforms and equipment, whether it's for universities, high schools, youth leagues, you name it. So why wouldn't you rather go with professionals who can guide us through the process, design the perfect uniforms, and deliver the best equipment? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. What's the name again? SM Athletics. Right. It's definitely smarter to go with a company that emphasizes customer service, fair pricing, and, of course, excellent products. Exactly. So, yeah, I guess it's settled then. For uniforms and equipment for all sports, it's SM Athletics.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Costa at Knoxville Smiles. Here at Knoxville Smiles, we're all about making it easier for you to see the dentist. That's why we're now open until 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If going to the dentist in the morning or during normal business hours doesn't fit your busy schedule, come see us a little later. Call 865-539-1776 to schedule your appointment, or just visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
We make it easy to save money. Get access to thousands of discounts on shopping, dining, and travel with the C&B Plus Perks account. It's a powerful new way to save money with roadside assistance, cell phone protection, identity theft protection, and credit monitoring. Banking at C&B has its perks. Call or stop by a branch for more details.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
Your tax refund belongs to you, not an identity thief. Over $6 billion in tax refunds were flagged by the IRS for possible identity theft last year. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. They monitor and alert you to identity threats you'd miss on your own, even if you're careful with your personal information. And if you do become a victim of tax-related identity fraud, LifeLock has U.S.-based restoration specialists ready to help solve your identity theft issue. Plus, all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. Let LifeLock help protect your financial info, so all you have to worry about is what you do with your tax refund. Go to LifeLock.com, save up to 25% off your first year. The promo code is HERD, promo code HERD, to save up to 25% off your first year. LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Hey, Pack Rat. Yeah, you. Are you moving cross-country and you just don't know who to call? Call us right now. Listen, you've probably seen one of our containers in your neighborhood. But did you know that we can help you move anywhere in the United States? It's real simple. We'll drop a container off at the location you tell us to bring it to. You pack up your valuable possessions at your leisure. They stay safe right in your home. And when you're ready, call us. We'll come and pick up the container and give you a scheduled date of when your furniture and the other possessions will be at your new home. So if you're moving across country or across town, be a Pack Rat. Join the Pack Rat family. Call Pack Rat right now for your free quote. See y'all later, Pack Rats.
Call 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. That's 800-965-1298.
Lucille, she's got a heart of gold. 'Cause perspective is like medicine for your soul. But if you trip, you just might fall when you're climbing out the window.
It's the Chase, wrapping up hour number 2 here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports, Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. Thank you for sticking with us here on the Chase, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 here. You can also listen to us all day long on the Fan Run Radio app. It's free. Download it in the App Store so you can listen to producer John today and his show Talk Sports with Cody McClure, 7 to 10. You got Under Review with Bob Baskerville and Sam Beard from 10 to 1. You've got our show here, The Chase, from 1 to 3. The Drive with Russell Smith and the Bear coming up right after this from 3 to 6. You got The Slate from 6 to 7 with John and William Pattison. And then, of course, Overtime William Pattison from 7 to 8. So 13 hours a day of local Tennessee Vols sports coverage. Even here in the heart of the offseason now that it's officially talking season, officially Tennessee football preview season, and no Tennessee sports to watch here for a little bit, but a whole lot to talk about this summer each and every day here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. As we wrap up here, Garrett, ESPN, FPI, we talked about it last week in just terms of how much they liked Tennessee as a number 10 overall team, but now they actually revealed their predictions and where they finish in the SEC. And Tennessee comes in at number 5 behind Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and the one that raised an eyebrow for me, Texas A&M. What say you about where FPI put their rankings here?
Yeah, they're probably honestly a little more optimistic on Tennessee than I am. I would say Tennessee, if I did a power ranking right now, I'd probably throw them somewhere around maybe the 7 mark. But I could see 5. Yeah, like you said, A&M being ahead is an interesting play. Seems like the Aggies every offseason are loved on, and then they go 7-5 and play in a mid-tier bowl game. I mean, they have some exciting pieces this year. Marcel Reed coming back. Le'Veon Moss is going to be one of the top running backs in the SEC. They have KC Concepcion, NC State transfer. So, I mean, they got some pieces on that team, but I think them being the 4th best team, ranked ahead of LSU and Ole Miss, is a bit aggressive.
I don't know. I mean, so I think a lot of people are going to see Tennessee and be surprised, but I don't think they're going to have that same reaction to A&M. And I think there's this complete misunderstanding about Texas A&M and the history of Texas A&M. Who would you guess had the worst debut season among Mike Elko, Jimbo Fisher, and Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M?
Probably, I don't know. I mean, I feel like all of them had their moments, and they obviously all very much so didn't have their moments. I thought Elko, I thought there was some good moments this year. I mean, they, beat the brakes off of a Missouri team that was, a pretty highly ranked when they went into that point in the season. And, some of their losses were to some pretty good opponents.
Well, I'm just talking even wins, losses.
Yeah.
8-4 was his debut regular season. Lose the Las Vegas Bowl, so they finished 8-5. Jimbo in 2018, he went 9-4, his debut season. And then you have Kevin Sumlin, his debut season in 2012. They went 11-2. They've been there before. This is a team that has won 8 to 9 games pretty consistently.
Yeah.
They're kind of like an 8 to 9 win team program when they're at their pinnacle. They have won 11 games one time 10 or more games one time this century. One time. Like, the way we talk about them is crazy. It's like R.C. Slocum is not walking through that door, Garrett. Like, this is not the way we talk about Texas A&M. It just seems very silly to me. Outside of the COVID year, where I think they got kind of screwed, because that team with Kellen Mond and company was really good. They were 9-1, won the Orange Bowl. Like, that was a really good Texas A&M team. Probably the best Texas A&M team in a long time as a whole. But I just think it's kind of odd. Everyone just wants A&M to be this is going to be the year that A&M breaks through. But I'm like, A&M doesn't even have the success of the last 3 years that Tennessee does. Like, Tennessee, I think, is a much safer play than A&M. And I'm seeing A&M and Tennessee grouped together a lot right now.
Right.
But I'm like, let's see. I mean, Jay Bateman was kind of a weird DC hire for Elko. He's kind of struggled of late. We'll see what that defense looks like this year. Still recruiting at a great level, but let's see what Marcel Reed looks like. They kind of hit a wall late in the year. Connor Wegman was expected to be the guy. Now he's at Houston. I don't know. I think there's a lot of optimism. Colin Klein, you pull him from Kansas State. We'll see what he looks like year 2 with Elko. He was a really good play caller for the Wildcats. But I don't know, man. I think what's consistent is Texas, Georgia, and Alabama. I would be surprised if one of those 3 teams do not end up in the college football playoff next year. But if I had to say between the two, who's more likely to finish 4 and who's more likely to finish 5 or below between A&M and Tennessee, I think it's A&M, and it's not even close. I think Tennessee's a much safer play next year than A&M.
Yeah, and I can't exactly remember the schedule that they played last year, but I think it was definitely, I mean, I know FPI that has nothing to do with the schedule, but I think there's definitely more wins on the schedule for Tennessee than A&M. They kind of play, from what I remember, they played a lot more of those past SEC West teams, at LSU and Texas, teams like that. But yeah, I agree. I think LSU being behind Texas A&M is kind of the one that's puzzling, because I feel like LSU is going to be pretty darn good next year. If I was to put a team at 4, not Tennessee, I think for me it would be LSU. Maybe Ole Miss, but I don't know. I'm pretty high on LSU next year. I think they're going to be pretty good.
I think a lot of people like LSU and South Carolina.
Yeah.
They like the final years of Garrett Nussmeier and Lenora Sellers. Like, I get it. My pick is still Florida as the 4th team that breaks out. Like, I do believe one of the wild cards of Florida, Oklahoma, Auburn break through. But, I mean, Connor O'Gara of Saturday Down South made a good point of, like, have you looked at Mizzou's schedule? They play their first 6 games at home.
Yeah.
They don't play, like, they bring back the Kansas Border War, which is cool. That's week 2.
Right.
But all their games, I think, are against teams with pretty rough years in 2024.
Yeah.
They avoid a lot of the big dogs in the SEC.
Right.
There is a very easy path to Mizzou to 10-2 and crashing the party as that 4th team, but it's one of those things where FPI and the stats are not going to like Mizzou.
Yeah.
But they have the schedule that could back end them into a 10-2 CFP type run, even though they are definitely not going to be one of the 15 best teams in the country next year.
Yeah, well, it's just obviously your home and away games, flip, so they play the exact same schedule. It's just home, but they even last year, like, they played an away game against UMass.
Yep.
That was one of their away games, which is just crazy. But yeah, I mean, they lose a lot. They don't have Luther Burden anymore. Obviously, the quarterback positions, switches and everything. I think Oklahoma's another team that I'm kind of high on. I mean, they bring in Ben Arbuckle, going to be back. I think he did coach in the bowl game for them, but, he's going to be the OC there. They bring in Jay Knott. They bring in John Mateer. I think that's going to be a pretty elite backfield in the SEC. Defense is going to be probably a little more hit or miss, but I think that's going to be a pretty high-level offense, and that's definitely not a team that I'm excited to welcome into Neyland Stadium. I think that's a team that could beat Tennessee if they're playing at their highest, but obviously the SEC every year is going to be pretty deep through the first, 8-9 teams. There's going to be obviously a little bit of fall off at the bottom of the division, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of teams that have a chance to make the college football playoff, as always in this conference.
So I want to quiz you here on this. It's kind of out of the gate here. Missouri 102nd in passing offense last year in conference play.
Okay,
that was worse than Tennessee, and you remember what Tennessee's passing offense looked like a year ago. Where do you think Texas A&M fell on that list? Tennessee was 94th, by the way.
72nd.
95th. One spot worse than Tennessee. So as bad as Tennessee's passing game was last year, A&M's was worse. And I think there's this idea that, like, A&M had, like, Marcel Reed is a breakout candidate, and, like, this Texas A&M offense could really roll and break through. I don't know. The numbers, I still just, like, it's still a lot of TBD for me with Texas A&M. I kind of wonder with LSU, Garrett, like, it's kind of funny. that Brian Kelly has won one less game over the last 3 years than Josh Heupel. I think he's won 29 games. Josh Heupel's won 30. And it doesn't feel even close to the same among Tennessee fans with Heupel and LSU fans with Kelly, because, I mean, the last 3 head coaches down there in the Bayou have won national titles.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure to win, as there should be for the Tigers. But, man, I kind of wonder, like, with how much they invest in the portal with Barry and Brown and Nick Anderson and bringing back Harold Perkins, bringing in Peyton from Florida State, also keeping Garrett Nussmeier for one more year. Like, they've invested pretty heavily in making a CFP this year. Like, does Brian Kelly have to make the college football playoff to keep his job?
I don't know that he has to make the CFP to keep his job necessarily this season, because, I mean, you know, they're still having solid seasons. But like you said, I mean, when you have the season that they had where they had maybe the best team in college football history in 2019, obviously expectations are going to be pretty high. I will say the one thing on LSU, you know, different than Tennessee, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, like all those schools have starters that have, there's a question mark. You know, they don't know how good their quarterback's going to be. LSU doesn't really have a question mark as their starter. Like, if you look at any list this offseason, Garrett Nussmeier is pretty much a consensus number 1 power ranked quarterback in the SEC. Rightfully so. He could have gone to the draft this past year, decided to come back for another season. I feel like if you have a quarterback that's not a question mark and you know that you're going to get elite quarterback play out of your quarterback, I feel like that raises the ceiling on your team significantly just based on that.
Are you a Garrett Nussmeier believer? Are you sold on Nussmeier?
I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, I don't know that he's necessarily, you know, going to be in New York City for the Heisman, but I think, you know, with what he's done at LSU, he's been there for a while. He's played with some pretty solid wide receivers. You know, I think he can lead them to a pretty solid season. I think he's one of those quarterbacks that doesn't make a whole lot of ridiculous decisions. He makes good decision making. I don't think he turns the ball over at a significant rate. His numbers might not, you know, blow you away, but I feel like he does the small things right.
He's got the most 10-plus yard passing plays of any returning starter in FBS last year. Kyle McCord led all of college football. Cam Ward at 2, Garrett at 3, Shador at 4. You look at his numbers. I mean, he was a big play guy, but it was the turnovers. It was some craziness in that South Carolina game. They were lucky to escape Columbia with a win there. I just still kind of mixed on Garrett Nussmeier. I just don't know if him, like Drew Aller. There's a couple of quarterbacks who project as potential first-round breakout guys that I just can't. Like, maybe it's silly, but I trust Lenora Sellers more than I do Garrett Nussmeier in 25.
Yeah, I mean, he had a 4,000-yard passing season, which obviously is extremely impressive. His QBR, which is a number that I think's a pretty good result of a quarterback, and his QBR is 10th in the country. Like you said, he does have 12 interceptions, 29 passing touchdowns. I don't know. I think this year he's going to be better than he's ever been, and I could see another 4,000-yard passing season as a possibility this year. And if that happens, I think LSU is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you see stuff like this, and I think you feel pretty good, man. Like, you look at the FPI, and you look at where a lot of national polls, because I think people have gotten bogged down by the Schleybaugh, the Stuart Mandels, who don't even have Tennessee in their top 25. And that's, to me, pretty egregious and really overthinking Tennessee in 2025. I'd be very surprised with this schedule, with their defense, with the floor that Heupel has built, and losing one home game in the last 3 years, that I'll really, really be surprised if Tennessee wins less than 8 games next year and is not a top 25 team when it's all said and done. But I do think the question mark for that Final Four spot is super interesting, because I don't know if there's going to be drama around it. Like, is Tennessee going to kind of eat themselves, kind of like what Ole Miss did last year, where are you going to have a bunch of 9-3s, the South Carolinas, the Ole Misses, where we look at them and go, yeah, they're one of the 15 best teams, but also you didn't take care of business down the stretch. Or in South Carolina's case, you should have beaten LSU at home, then you're in. Or if you're Ole Miss, beat Kentucky at home, and you're in. Like, I do kind of wonder how much of that factors in terms of where that Final Four spot. And we're just going ahead to pencil in Texas, Georgia, and Alabama too, which could not be the case. Like Georgia replacing a lot. We don't know what Gunnar Stockton is ultimately going to be as a full-time starter with Georgia. They're replacing a lot of production on that side of the ball. We don't know what Ty Simpson is going to look like for Alabama if he's indeed QB1. Big year, too. Ryan Grubb back with his guy, Kalen DeBoer. I mean, even Texas, like Arch, like they have the schedule and the talent to just waltz back into the CFP, but what if Arch is not what you think he is? Like, we still haven't seen a whole lot of Arch Manning to this point. So I would expect Arch and that team to be really good in 25 and to be one of the real contenders to win it all next season. But I don't know. The SEC is pretty open this year, I think, by and large.
Yeah. I mean, I think of those three teams, I would say Alabama has the potential to not meet expectations the most. As I just feel like Texas, I just feel like Texas has too many good players. Georgia has unequivocally the best coach in America. And Alabama has a lot of pieces. I mean, obviously they're going to return Ryan Williams. They're going to return some players that are, significantly important. But I don't know. I just feel like Alabama might be the one team of those that could go 8-4.
8-4, man. At Alabama in year 2. I mean, you talk about a scorching hot seat for Kalen DeBoer in year 3. If he goes 8-4 this year, goodness gracious. Like, there's no way you can't do 8-4 at Alabama. But a whole lot more Tennessee talk and CFB talk here on The Chase this week. So stick around. We've got another jam-packed week of co-hosts and intern Garrett, and we appreciate producer John, also co-host of Talk Sports from 7 to 10. So appreciate you, John, for filling in today. The Drive with Russell Smith and the Bear coming up next here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, here on 1340 AM, 105.7 FM. Y'all come back now.